Most companies don't fail because they hire bad people. They fail because they hired the right person at the wrong time. And there's no role where the mistake shows up faster or costs more than operations. Because operations touches everything. How decisions get made, how fast ideas turn into execution, how heavy or light the work feels inside the business. So let me paint a picture. On one side of town, a founder is hiring their very first operations leader. Across town, a Fortune 500 board is quietly replacing their COO. Same job title, completely different expectations, completely different risk profile. And when this goes wrong, it rarely looks dramatic. There's no explosion, no headline. Instead, things just slow down, momentum fades, decisions stall, and strategy never quite shows up in execution. The goal isn't to hire for today or tomorrow. It's to hire someone who can execute in today's reality and scale into tomorrow's complexity. Because confusing those two is one of the most expensive mistakes leadership makes. Let's get into it. I'm Renee Fry, and this is Building Your High-Performing Team, where we help you hire smarter, reduce turnover, and drive business results so you can finally sleep at night. If you want proven strategies to hire better teams and build teams that actually last, make sure you hit subscribe. We drop new insights every week. If you're in startup mode, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not hiring someone to run operations. You're hiring someone to create order inside uncertainty. Early stage chaos isn't a leadership failure. It's the natural outcome of speed, experimentation, and limited margin for error. The mistake founders make is trying to eliminate chaos too early instead of hiring someone who knows how to manage it intelligently. A strong startup ops leader understands exactly where structure helps and exactly where it kills momentum. Their real job is prioritization under pressure. What needs a process now? What can wait and what should never be built at all? Because in a startup, every decision touches cash flow, morale, and survival. There's no buffer. And I've worked with founders who have hired impressive corporate operators, big titles, recognizable logos, and then watched burn rate climb while output stayed flat. Not because the leader lacked skill, but because they built systems optimized for stability, not speed. Here's the misconception that gets leaders into trouble. They assume scale experience automatically equals readiness, and it doesn't. Startup operations is not a smaller version of enterprise operations. It's a completely different discipline. In startups, speed is financial strategy. You're racing your runway every single month. Your ops leader must be comfortable making decisions with incomplete information, knowing they'll revisit and adjust later. Waiting for certainty costs more than fixing mistakes. And I've seen startups stall because an ops leader insisted on building future-proof systems that the company would never survive long enough to need. The best startup ops leaders build temporary solutions on purpose. They expect to rip them out. That mindset, build, learn, replace, is what separates builders from administrators. Personality matters more than pedigree here. This role demands low ego and high ownership. Strong startup ops leaders roll up their sleeves. They touch onboarding, vendors, customer issues, not forever, but long enough to see where the business actually breaks. Because you can't design systems you've never lived inside. Other common miss? Overvaluing people management experience and undervaluing tolerance for ambiguity. Managing 10 people in chaos is harder than managing 100 with structure. If someone needs predictability to feel effective, this role is going to drain them fast. And the cost of getting this wrong is brutal. You don't just lose salary, you lose time, momentum, trust. I worked with a startup that replaced their ops leader twice in under 2 years. Both people were qualified, neither was right. And by the time they reached out, the team had stopped believing leadership knew what it needed. And that erosion of confidence is expensive. When you hire the right startup ops leader, everything feels lighter. Decisions move, execution catches up to ambition. Now, let's flip to the other end of the spectrum. At Fortune 500 scale, you're not managing chaos, you're managing complexity. And complexity obeys different rules. Here, the organization isn't fragile, it's interconnected, highly matrixed, risk sensitive. Every decision touches multiple departments, budgets, systems, and stakeholders. So speed without context becomes a liability. And one of the biggest mistakes executive teams make is assuming disruption equals progress. It doesn't. At this level, progress comes from alignment. A strong enterprise ops exec isn't here to blow things up. They're there to protect what works and improve what doesn't. I've seen companies hire charismatic startup leaders hoping to shake things up, and what they got instead was instability. Processes were removed before anyone understood why they existed. Downstream teams felt it immediately. Customers noticed. Compliance issues surfaced. Costs crept up quietly. Here's what many leaders underestimate. Enterprise processes often exist to manage risk. They may look inefficient, they may feel slow, but they're actually protecting the business. An experienced ops leader doesn't ask, why do we do this? They ask, what problem is this protecting us from? That single question can save millions. That role requires systems thinking. Great enterprise ops leaders understand how operation impacts finance, which impacts hiring, which impacts culture, which ultimately impacts results. They don't optimize in silos. They also know that authority doesn't drive change at scale. Credibility does. Influence matters more than instruction, and patience is non-negotiable. In startups, change happens in weeks. In enterprises, it happens in phases. I've seen strong leaders fail because they try to compress a 2-year transformation into 6 months. And the result wasn't innovation, it was exhaustion. Experience matters here. This is not learn as you go role. One enterprise client hired a high potential ops exec to grow into the role, and within a year, uncoordinated changes triggered compliance reviews and vendor strain. Cleanup costs exceeded 7 figures. That's the hidden price of learning at scale. The best Fortune 500 ops leaders aren't flashy. They measure success in basis points because at this level, small improvements create massive impact. And when you hire the right one, execution steadies, risk drops, and margins improve quietly. That's success at scale. Let's slow down and compare these two environments side by side because the title may look identical, but the instincts couldn't be more different. First, speed versus sustainability. In startups, speed equals survival. Delayed decisions can kill momentum. In enterprises, sustainability wins. Fast mistakes ripple across the organization. Second, generalist versus specialist. Startup ops leaders touch everything. They're building the plane while they're flying it. Enterprise ops leaders go deep. They create value through precision and expertise. The third, building versus optimizing. Startup leaders ask, what do we need to do to keep moving? Enterprise leaders ask, what can we improve without destabilizing the system? The fourth, risk appetite. Startups accept risk to survive. Enterprises manage risk to protect stability. Same title, opposite instincts. That's why fit beats brilliance every time. And when leaders get this wrong, the consequences are rarely loud, but they are always costly. This is where things quietly fall apart because operation hires rarely fail loudly, they fail slowly. Let me share 2 scenarios with you. Scenario 1, the startup hires corporate. The company raises capital and decides it's time to grow up, so they hire a Fortune 500 ops leader. Governance goes in, approval chains multiply, reporting expands. Suddenly, decisions that took a day now take a month. And the ops leader feels blocked, the team feels constrained, and the founder feels slowed down. Everyone's right. They're just solving different problems. Scenario number 2, the enterprise hires startup energy. Leadership wants agility. They want innovation. Week 1 feels electric. Week 4 feels chaotic. Processes disappear without understanding the risks they managed, errors increase, fire drills become normal, and eventually the leader exits. Not because they lack talent, but because fit was wrong. Capability doesn't guarantee success. Instinct does. And here's the truth most leaders don't love. Most hiring processes confirm competence, not fit. And competence alone never makes or breaks an ops leader. Outcomes matter, but only when you clearly understand the decisions that produce them. You're hiring judgment. Step 1 is brutal honesty about where your business is actually today. Not where you want to be. Not what sounds good to the board. What's your real constraint? Speed, scale, stability, risk? If you can't answer that clearly, pause the hire. In interviews, don't just validate results, pressure test the thinking behind them. You're not hiring results. You're hiring how someone thinks under pressure. If you want a single question that exposes whether an operations leader is right for your stage, it's this one. Walk me through your first 90 days in our business. What do you stabilize immediately? What do you intentionally leave messy? And what do you design knowing you'll have to rebuild later? Listen carefully to how they answer. You're not listening for polish, you're listening for judgment. The right candidate can explain trade-offs, sequencing, and restraint. The wrong one tries to fix everything at once. That one answer will tell you more than 3 rounds of interviews. And for startups, listen for adaptability and restraint. For enterprises, listen for alignment and risk awareness. If a candidate can't articulate why they want your environment, pause. That uncertainty always shows up later. Mishiring at the ops exec level is one of the most expensive mistakes a company can make. Not just financially, culturally. One client told me, nothing technically broke, everything just felt heavier. That's misfit. Finally, align at the top. If the CEO wants speed and the COO wants structure and HR wants consistency, the ops leader is going to fail no matter how talented they are. When you hire for fit, operations stops being friction and becomes leverage. Hiring an operations leader isn't about pedigree. It's about alignment. Get it right and execution feels easier. Get it wrong and everything feels heavier. Hire for your reality, hire for your stage, hire for the problems you actually have. That's how operations becomes a competitive advantage. If this resonated and you found it valuable, please share it with another hiring leader who's serious about building stronger teams. And if I can help you, that's what I'm here for. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. We drop fresh insights every week to help you hire smarter and lead stronger. And if you're ready to fill a critical role or strengthen your leadership pipeline, visit talentq.net, where exceptional companies meet exceptional people. I'm Renee Fry, and this has been Building Your High-Performing Team from the recruiters who know your business, Talent Q. When your team is dialed in, that's when leadership feels effortless. Cheers for now, and I'll see you in the next one.